All right, everybody, welcome to the Scholars Dental NDEB orientation, how to become a dentist in Canada. It's for the 2022. There's some changes made. If you guys have been following, following the YouTube videos or what the NDEB is doing. So we thought it's a good idea to do another one. We have one already on YouTube, but there's some changes and there's some things that are different now. So we felt like it's necessary to make a new one. Okay. So I have these slides I usually go through, but I thought before I actually go through how to do this stuff, okay, I just thought of something that to put you in the right mindset. Okay. I find that it's important to have the right mindset when you're doing these things. NDEB, AFK, when you're starting this process, it's important to have the right mindset. And then I thought, well, at the end of the day, why are you all here, right? Why are you doing this? What made you do this? What would you say? What would you think is the answer to that, right? You might think, well, it's because, I want to become a dentist in Canada. That's what I want to do, right? But why are you here is because you all want to make your life better, right? You think this is maybe a step that's going to make your life better. Whatever that means to you, right? Is it, lifestyle? Is it location-wise? Is it financial? Is it whatever that means? Is that this process, you're here because this whole thing is going to improve your life. This is what you think, right? Okay. So anyway, I could put it like you're running, but anyway, you are here to hopefully improve your life, right? And that for you includes going through the NDEB process, right? And becoming a dentist in Canada, right? Now, you don't have to do this, all right? You could just, if you want to relocate or you want to come to Canada, you could come to Canada and just, do something else, get another job, right? You could get a job and work at a coffee shop or get another job or go to college for 2 years and get another job. But you are thinking, well, I'm already a dentist. I have the skills. Why not do this, right? But if you choose that, it is at the end a choice, okay? You're choosing to do this process. And that's a choice. That's effort. There's going to be work. It's not easy, okay? We know the steps. You have people like us helping, but doesn't mean it's easy, okay? There's going to be effort, there's going to be work. It's still a choice. You're choosing to do this. It's a luxury. If you want to do this, yeah, great, The NDEB is giving you that opportunity. The NDEB doesn't owe you that you need to become a dentist. It's not saying, hey, come, I owe you to become a dentist. You have to, right? They don't owe you anything. They're saying, here's an opportunity. If you want this, yes, maybe the other side of it is great, right? Once you're done, you have opportunities, right? You could be a dentist here, but that doesn't come, it's not an easy thing. You have to go through a lot of obstacles. You're going to go through some struggles, right? And you have to have that mindset and from the start, okay? I like to set people up in a way where you understand, don't look at the NDEB as, like your enemy. Look at them as, okay, they have this is what they want. What can I do to go through this? What can I do to make this work? And your job is to prepare. Your job is to do the best you can. And things will happen, right? Things could happen. COVID happened, delayed exams, technical issues on website prevented people from registering for the exam last Feb. Things happen. There's obstacles on the way. But you always have to look at yourself on what you could do to be ready when things open up for you. Okay? So I just thought I would share that just to put you guys all in the right mindset that, look, this is not something, everybody has to do. It's a choice. And there's going to be it's a luxurious thing to be able to get to the other side of this. You don't have to. No one is forcing you. So there's a lot of work that comes with it. Okay? But there's a good thing. You guys are all here to learn the first steps. And that shows, maybe there's thousands of dentists around the world that always think, hey, yeah, it would be nice to go to, become a dentist in Canada, right? Or something like that. But you actually took initiative and are starting the process, right? And that's a good sign. That says something about you, okay? So, but again, it doesn't end here. This is just the start. This is an easy step. It's going to get, each step there's exams, courses, a lot of work, competition, okay? So I just thought I would share that to kind of put you in the right mindset from the start, okay? How do we become a dentist in Canada? Now, if you have other questions, or do you think there's a lot of content on our YouTube channel, okay? So many videos we've made about this. We're still making some because we always have ideas on how to make things accessible for people, for dentists to learn. Like, for example, if you want to learn about how the UFT, how to get into UFT, how to get in, we have all these different videos. A lot of people I do consults with, and again, you could do a free consultation where we kind of figure out what's the best plan for you. They come through the videos. They say like, oh, we watched these and we learned a lot of things from them. So that's useful if you have other questions. We even have a section or playlist called Ask Dr. Hafez. We have one called NDEB Explained. So a lot of content there that could help you already answer some questions if you still have some after. Now, this orientation usually, as I mentioned, I would do an AFK orientation and the NDEB orientation. But for today, what we decided to do is separate the AFK one so that we give more time for the NDEB process. We thought that would be beneficial to answer more questions about it. Plus, we could include questions about other things, like if you're thinking about IMBD or ADAT, right? We could go through concepts there. Okay, so again, we do have an AFK event or AFK orientation event coming up in Feb. Okay, if you could register for that, it's also free. I would say all of you qualify, are good candidates to take that orientation. Okay, yeah, so because you're at that stage, so go ahead. Also, our SVP for that orientation is on our website, and you'll see it at the bottom of the page once this orientation or this event is done. So today we're going to focus on how to become a dentist, applying to the NDEB, what's the direct pathway versus the university pathway, a little bit on that. Now, things about the AFK and how the online AFK works, that will be in the AFK orientation. Okay. So you can narrow down the topics to how to become a licensed dentist in Canada, what is the NDEB, how to apply for the NDEB, when to apply, and which AFK to take. So your timeline. That's something I do in consults as well. The new NDEB 2022 vision. Okay, if you are familiar with the older NDEB process, like the one last year, then just kind of updating this one. If you're new to this, then to you it doesn't matter, right? This is the path, the process, Then the direct pathway versus the university pathway as well. We'll talk about that. Okay. So how to become a licensed dentist? The license is what allows you to work. Okay. All right. So the way you become a dentist is you have to apply to what we call the Provincial Dental Regulatory Authority. Okay. So this is you. Okay. All right. Actually, let's draw them like again, like kind of running. Okay. This is you. You're going to the RCDSO, let's say. In Ontario, it's called RCDSO. This authority. Okay. And you're asking them, hey, can I use my skills and practice as a dentist in Canada? I'm a dentist in my country. Can I come and do that? Anybody could ask them. Sure. Okay. So what's the RCDSO? What's this Provincial Dental Regulatory Authority? What is that? That's who gives you the license to work. Okay. And in each province in Ontario, it's called the RCDSO, the Royal College of Dental Surgeons of Ontario. In British Columbia, it's called the College of Dental Surgeons of British Columbia, okay? And, you can see the pattern here. Each one has its own name, but each province in Canada has one. Now, if you're a part of the RCDSO, if you have the license from them, you cannot work in British Columbia. if you have the license from British Columbia, you cannot work in Ontario. So just to kind of clear that, the NDEB doesn't regulate your work, your license. Okay, is that clear? The NDEB, that's not where its role is. The provincial dental regulatory authorities are who kind of govern your license and your work, and that's who you renew your license with every year. Okay. So what will the RCDSO respond to this question? May I use my skills to practice? They'll say, well, or they would say, maybe, do you have these papers? Okay, what are the papers they want from you? They want maybe an English test if your original university is not in English, some university papers, but mainly they want something called the NDEB certificate. So that's where the NDEB comes in. So if we go back to this one, you have to go to the NDEB first. And then once you get your certificate, then you could go to the RCDSO or to the Provincial Regulatory Authority. Okay? These two don't necessarily communicate, right? So you have to finish your stuff with the NDEB, they could send your certificate directly to the RCDSO if you want, but that's a different story, whatever, okay? So you need to get your NDEB certificate. This is what it looks like. So to give you some vision, right? Okay, your name, and they'll actually have your original university here. For example, in Ontario, what does the RCDSO want from you? Right, as we said the NDEB certificate, English test. This is just an example, university papers, and it wants the NDEB certificate. So the NDEB is the National Dental Examination Board of Canada. So the NDEB is a national thing. So that certificate, there's only one NDEB for all of Canada. The RCDSO is for Ontario. Is that clear? So each provincial regulatory authority is for a province. The NDEB is for all of Canada. Okay. So how do we get this NDEB certificate? So we want this NDEB certificate, right? The NDEB, the National Dental Examination Board of Canada, what they're responsible for is making sure you're knowledgeable, making sure you're a competent dentist. Okay. Making sure, so the regulatory authority like the RCDSO makes sure you're practicing properly, right? While you're practicing, things are ethical, everything is fine, the NDEB makes sure you have the knowledge and the skills before you become a dentist, okay? Before you get licensed. So is that clear so far? So the NDEB is responsible for your examinations. And not only you, even people that graduate here. So how do we get this NDEB certificate? Well, to get the NDEB certificate, you have to pass the board exams. You have to pass the written board and OSCE exam. These together, we call them like just the board exams, the boards. They're two exams. The written board exam is a multiple choice question, and the OSCE is a case-based question. Okay, doc, you're going to ask me, right? So how can I take these exams? Can you just go ahead and go, hey, let me go take these board exams? That's easy. Well, the thing is, to take these exams, you have to be a graduate of an accredited dental program. Whoa, what does that mean now, accredited dental program? So the list of accredited dental programs, according to Canada, are a Canadian dental school, an American dental school, an Australian school, New Zealand, or Ireland. So if you're a graduate of one of these schools, I mean, you really don't need to be here, okay? So you could still come to us for OSCE. We do have OSCE courses online, but you don't need the whole process. You don't need to, it's easier for you. So if you're from Australia, I remember, sometimes if someone comes to us thinking like, oh, what do I have to do to, do I have to go through all this stuff? And I'm like, oh, you're from Australia? No, that's pretty easy. You just have to do the OSCE and boards, right? So if you are from one of these, all you have to do is those last exams, you're accredited already, and they're not too hard, okay? But again, the OSCE does need courses or a course, because we do find that sometimes there's adjustments other countries that you have to do for the Canadian guidelines, And that's what causes some to fail. Okay, so that's what the accredited program is, or what accredited dental programs are. So let's go through what these accredited programs do. Okay, so they have to study first to get into an accredited dental school. You're usually studying an undergrad, like 4 years of university, usually in sciences, maybe some a lot go into basic sciences like biochemistry, stuff like that, right? And you have to consistently get high scores every semester so that your average GPA is high. Okay? Now you're doing that and you don't know you're getting to dental school. So this itself is a 4-year risk, right? You might not be able to get into dental or medical school. People that do that usually are trying to get into medical or dental school, right? And if they can't, then they find themselves, well, they're with this, degree from sciences that, doesn't really, wasn't what they really wanted at the end, right? And then let's say they do get into the hustle and the struggle of the 10 dental schools we have in Canada. And, a lot of them are in other provinces. So really in Ontario, you have 2, right? And then usually in other provinces, you only have 1. So if they do get in, then they have to do another 4 years of being, consistently good. And then at the end, they get to do the written board and OSCE exam. So the struggle, and after this is expensive too. So the cost of all of this, I know dentists that graduate here from the beginning to end, and they still are in debt, okay, because of this, like $300,000 debt because of all the education. So you need to understand the struggle for people to become dentists anyway in Canada, right, is real. It's already there. They have to overcome these obstacles, right? And a big part of this NDEB process is they have to kind of make it fair for both people coming from abroad. They have to give the same, because, even if you're, let's say you're a foreign trained dentist, sometimes, schools back home are 5 years, right after grade 12, right? So you're not putting in the same, how are you coming in here and then getting access to this profession when these dentists had to do all of this work to get to that level? So you have to understand it's not easy for anyone. Becoming a dentist in Canada is a difficult task for anyone, whether you're a foreign trained dentist or not. It's actually probably easier if you're a foreign trained dentist because, you don't have to go, it's not as selective. You're already, here it's very difficult to, you're going through a whole process, right? At least you can just send in your documents. You just have to be verified, and then you have to pass the exams, right? That's on you. No one could reject you if you actually pass. Does that make sense? If you're a foreign trained dentist and you actually pass, you put in the effort, no one could reject you. But here you could easily get rejected into these programs, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. It's not that, again, that mindset of, oh no, the NDEB is after us. I want to try to eliminate. That's not helping anybody. Why? That wouldn't help you, right? Keep the mindset that, okay, the NDEB is there. They're making this offer. They're trying to help as best as they can. Your struggle to become a dentist here is no different than a Canadian that's originally here trying to become a dentist. They both struggle. You both struggle, okay? So what do you have to do, foreign trained dentists from a non-accredited dental program, to get to this? What do you have to do, right? So first, once you apply to the NDEB and get approved, I'm going to talk about that. You have to do the AFK exam. That's your first step. Then after you do the AFK exam, you have 2 choices. You either go through the direct pathway. This is what we call this, direct pathway, where you do another 2 exams. So ACJ, you have to do the ACJ first, then what used to be called ACS is now called NDECC, and it has something called situational judgment, okay, as well with it. So this is called the direct pathway. Once you finish this, you are now equal to an accredited graduate, okay? And then now you're allowed to take those written board and OSCE exam that give you the NDEB certificate. Okay. Now the other pathway, which is the university pathway, you do the AFK exam, then you apply to universities, and then once you graduate these accredited universities, you're accredited as well. Okay. Then you could go take the written board and OSCE exams. Now, there's been an alteration to this recently, because instead of the AFK, you could take the ADAT exam as well and also go to university. Now, because we mentioned this now, the ADAT is not yet the best investment, okay? AFK is still more powerful. Why? The ADAT literally is only for UFT and McGill as of now. That's it. So you're literally taking this exam only for UFT and McGill. If you take the AFK, it opens up the direct pathway and all the other universities. If you take the IMBDE, then opens up all the US pathways, right? In a way. So if your target is broader than Canada, like let's say your goal is only Canada, then okay, I would say take AFK, then ADAT as a backup if you're at that level, okay? Like what I mean at that level is that if you're at the level that you're approved, you already know all this stuff, and you're like, what exam should I take? I would say take the AFK, and then right after AFK course and exam, use that knowledge fresh and go for the ADAT, okay? And we could help you adjust to the ADAT as well. We have evidence that our students took the course, they then read some American material, went and passed the IMBDE. And ADAT could be very close to the IMBDE, maybe just a little bit more reading. And we are currently working on more extra material that could help you pass those as well, okay? But the course itself that we have for AFK already prepares you for most of IMBD and ADAT, okay? But there's just American adjustments you have to make, like insurance stuff, certain American things. So that's what I would say. Now, if you're opening your horizon that, hey, I don't mind going to the US, it's an option for you, then I would say take the AFK and the IMBDE. You might not even need ADAT, right? Because the IMBD opens universities. But if you prefer Canada, then you could just take all three right after your course, right? So we'll kind of do a timeline later on to show how that looks, okay? So the ADAT, sorry, just to clarify, is another exam. So now UFT, I have a video on YouTube about it. It says, what is the ADAT exam? So the ADAT is an American exam that the UFT now and McGill University are requiring for you to enter instead of AFK. I went back a step. I'm just showing you, okay, this is where we came from. We're talking about the accredited program. Now we are here. We're talking about the non-accredited program for the NDEB. So now, which one, the first question we should look into before we talk about ADAT and all that, a lot of people think, well, what do I do? Should I do the direct pathway? Just go for the exams? Or should I do the university pathway? Now, when I do the consultations, and I've done a lot of consultations in the last few months, and it's really helpful for some, like for most actually, because sometimes kind of something, but you need someone to, articulate it and make it visual for you, and then clarify your options, right? So a lot of times I ask in my consults, okay, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the university pathway or the direct? Or do you just not care? Do you just want to, whatever happens is fine? You could have both options open, right? So if you go through the direct pathway, I don't say one is better than the other. It just depends on what you want. If you want, if you feel like you just want to become a dentist, that's it, you just want to work, right? The direct pathway is the fastest and cheapest, right? It's cheaper than the other pathway. So you might end up spending around up to 80,000 and 2 to 3 years to complete the direct pathway. Okay, so that's like the AFK exam. After the AFK, then the ACJ, then the NDECC, then applying to the NDEB, then doing your OSCE and boards, right? So every time I plan it for a consult, and I write their timeline, their plan, it ends up being like, if you're starting in 2022, you might finish in 2025. And that's when you get your license, right? Like you might finish earlier, but you get your license 2025. So it's a plan. You need a plan like that. If you go through the university pathway, okay, which means you do the AFK exam and then you go to a university, or you do the ADAT exam, as I said, then you go to one of the universities. We'll talk about that again later. We'll clarify. So the ADAT again is a US exam that some universities are asking for. Okay, this pathway is going to cost you maybe 150 to 250. I think minimum, it's not even 150. It's probably more now, because I think I saw last like each semester could be 70,000 or something like that. So sorry, each year could be 70,000. So plus the IDAP program. So you're looking at 200 to 250, and it's easily going to be 3 to 4 years. Even though, how does the university usually work? When you do the AFK, you're going to apply to university. When you apply to university, that takes time. Then there's probably going to be an interview process, an admitting process. Then you get into sometimes like kind of a prep phase. And officially you do year 3 and 4 of the university. Okay. So you might think it's 2 years. Some people go like, oh, I'm just going to go to university and do 2 years. It's not really 2 years. It always ends up being more than 2 years, because just applying, waiting for the semester to start, all these steps almost take 2 years. Okay. So it ends up being 3 to 4 years. Okay. Anyway, at the end, you end up doing the written board and OSCE for both pathways, and that's when you get your NDEB certificate. So why would you go to university if it's longer and costs more? Why would you do that? Well, that's what I do in the consults. I ask you like, okay, here's why you would go. What's your motive to go, first of all, and which one makes sense? Okay. Now, if you go to university, you actually get a DDS from a Canadian university. So let's say you have a DDS dental degree from UFT. It's good. It's a strong thing. It's going to be easier for you to get into a specialty if you desire to get into a specialty. Imagine now the specialty department in let's say UFT, right? There's a specialty department of endo or something, and they're maybe allowing 3 to 4 people a year, right? And they get all these people applying, and they look at your resume or your degree and they go like, oh, this person did the direct pathway, right? And then they look at someone else, they look at 10 others, and they're like, oh, this person has a DDS from UFT. I mean, psychologically, who do you think they're going to be more, open to, right? Someone that studied in the same school that understands our systems, or someone that we don't know what they did, right? So I think it's just to get into a specialty, it'll be easier if you do the university pathway. The other thing is that if you do this, you actually a graduate of an accredited program. So if you decide you need to go to the US, it's easier because all you have to do is the board exams. USA, Australia. If you want to go to Australia, I mean, why would you go to Canada and decide to go to the US and Australia? I don't know. But if you decide to do that, then all you have to do is the board exams. Now, if you do this and you get your NDEB certificate through the direct pathway, I mean, specialty is less likely. And if you go to the US, there are some, I think, states that accept it, but mostly the default position is that you have to do everything from the start. They don't recognize, they still look at your degree. They don't recognize your NDEB work. Okay. But you do get, to your work faster this way, and it's cheaper. So, you don't, and plus it's, I think, more likely because the university still has limited seats. Okay, guys? And you need high score to get into university. That's why the AFK exam, or previously you needed a high score. Now we're still looking into, okay, what's going to happen if they create a pass-fail system? And even with that, you might be able to forward your score from the NDEB to the university. So we're still going to see how that's going to work in the future. Okay. And all of this at the end, whether you're doing it, let me take you to the final slide of this, is showing you the summary, right? All of this is taking you, whether you're doing it from an accredited program from the start, you live in Canada or Australia, You're doing 4-year undergrad. You're going through 4-year dental school. Piling up a loan of 300 or 200,000. 8 years of studying, really, serious studying, getting your board. All this is to become a general dentist in Canada. Well, or you might be a foreign trained dentist from a non-accredited dental program, and you took the AFK exam. You went through one of the pathways, which is university or direct pathway. You did your skills and judgment exam, your judgment and skills exam, and then you got to your board and OSCE, and then you became a general dentist. There's something here I want to say. All this work is to become a general dentist. You have to understand, a general dentist here is hard to get to, okay? Now, back home, I think in some countries, there's a mentality, and I understand this, is that, because I think we had it easier to get to general, like, I'm not going to say easy, but it was maybe not as long of a pathway. Like most countries have it where you finish grade 12, and then you get into dental school right away. So general dentistry felt like our undergrad. Does that make sense? For some countries, like in Syria, I'm speaking for myself, after grade 12, it was difficult to, because you're competing usually against the whole country for those seats. But after grade 12, I got into dental school, right? So that felt for me the first university. So that kind of was the undergrad. And we always have this mentality that I have to become a specialist. It's like a must. I have to go more, right? But here's the thing. Over here, the dentistry itself is like the specialty, okay? You don't have to become a specialist here. Like there's no reason unless you really love that specialty, okay? And if you're a specialist here, you usually only work in your specialty. Now, I know back home in other countries, you become a specialist and you do your specialty in all general dentistry. That's not how it works here, okay? You have to do only your specialty. Not you have to, but you'll usually only do your specialty because you need general dentists to refer to you. It's just how it works, right? So if you're a specialist, it's okay to come here and do your general dentistry, because as a general dentistry in Canada, you could do anything most of the time you want. Like if you want to do implants, if you want to do impacted teeth, if you want to do ortho, whatever you could do, just take a course to justify your hours so that in front of the RCDSO, you could say, hey, look, my hours, I've done my training. You already have the skills to do it, so you could do it, right? You're just not doing it as a recognized specialist formally, okay? Again, these are things we could talk about each person in their own consult. Again, if you want to book a free consultation and I talk about your specific situation with you. And I remember the last time I checked, and again, this could change, every few months or stuff, but in Ontario, there's 10,000 general dentists and the population is 14 million. So you could think of it, it's like a rare position. It's a luxury again, right? No one's saying you have to become a dentist here. It's a choice. You want to, it's a luxury. You have to put in the hours, the work, the effort, right? So that's the summary of the pathways, okay? And then I'm going to take a look at the chat just to see if there's any main questions. Okay, so someone's saying what's included in the ADK in the direct pathway. That's a direct question here. How to book the free consultation is go to the website, scholarsdental.com, and you'll see consultation, or you'll see book consult everywhere. Just click on it and then you could book a free consultation. Now, yes, if you do the IMBDE, you have to go to university. That's the US pathway. We're going to clarify all that at the end. Let me go through the lecture. But the direct question we have here is one related to the 80,000. How is it spent? Or how does it come up to the 80,000? I have, I think, a video breaking down the cost of the whole process. So you could go to our YouTube, check NDEB exam fees or NDEB cost, and you'll see a video. But basically, where does this all come from? Well, first of all, the cost of exams and the cost of equipment and the cost of courses. That's all kind of includes. So think of it like this. If you're going to do your AFK exam, first of all, you apply to the NDEB. That's like maybe 800. The AFK registration is 800. and you want to, if you take an AFK course, let's say you're paying around 5,000. If you're taking like that's like what you find the prices at. Then let's say you're taking ACJ. The ACJ exam's probably around 1,000 to 2,000, just the exam. If you're taking a course, it's probably around 3,000. So all of that you could see is still less than 15,000. So it's like around 11 to 12,000, right? Okay, not a big deal. Now, when you get to the ACS, that's where things are variable. So first of all, the clinical exam itself is 9,000. Now, we're still seeing if they're going to change it or not, but last time it was 9,000 for the exam. Courses could be around 6,000. Then you have to buy your instruments, and that could be anywhere from 10 to 20,000. Okay, and buying teeth. You're always using material while you're practicing, right? So all of this is where the majority of the money comes in. So that's why I say 50,000, but then I kind of just in case, you might need more. If you fail the exam, then you have to pay another 9,000, right? So I'm kind of giving you a little bit cushion there, like just to make sure you keep that in mind. So, all right. And then these exams cost a little bit. So overall, and then you have your own living expenses if you're not working, in case you have to, like, I'm just talking about this. So I have a video about that on YouTube, breaking it down into its, breaking down all the costs. Again, I'll be answering all your questions. I promise, guys. I just want to finish first the slides, and then I could really put the time for the questions, okay? All right. Okay, so you could find this on our website. You could go to our NDEB process page under courses, just to see. We made this just a simple flow chart to show you how it looks like. So the NDEB process for foreign trained dentists. Your first step is the NDEB application. So when I did the poll here today, let me see what the poll looked like. I asked, are you approved, right? So nope, haven't started, 25% now. Sent documents is 13%. Working on documents is 6%. Okay, so all of you that haven't gotten approved yet, start doing that ASAP. There's no expiry date. There's no reason not to start. If you think this is a goal for you, there's no reason not to start the NDEB process application, okay? If you're not sure, you're like, I'm not sure if I want to go to Canada. I'm kind of happy here, right? If wherever you are, right? Then, okay, don't do it, right? But I find that there's like kind of a formula. Like if your comfort level where you are now outweighs the struggle of this process, then you're probably going to stay what you're doing, right? But if you feel like the outcome of this process is going to outweigh your comfort level, then yeah, then it's going to be worth it. Because at the end, it is worth it. Okay? So that's the first step. The second step is you're going to do your AFK exam. You have to pass that exam. Now, from there, you're going to be able to either go through the direct pathway, step 3, or the indirect pathway. That could be your step 3, which is the university pathway. Now, another way to get to the university pathway, as I am mentioning here, okay, is doing the ADAT exam. It's optional to go through to UFT specifically or McGill. Now, we don't know if they're going to back out on this exam or other universities are going to join, right? But the ADAT exam is when you kind of apply to the ADA. Like they have like you have to do their own application. So I think it's a good idea to open that, like just to apply, right? You don't have to take the exams yet, but just open a profile with them. Figure that out. It's the same one that could allow you to do the IMBD. So I think anybody that is coming to Canada or planning to come to North America to do this process, whether it's in the US or Canada, is to open both profiles. If you have time, right? What else are you doing? Do that, right? That way you're ready to take the exams you need, okay? All right, so then, as we mentioned, once you're done AFK, you could go through the direct, do ACJ, ACS, or NDECC, or you do the university, then you get to step 4, which is the board exams, then you get your certification and license. Okay, guys? So just a little, if you want a reminder, you could always go to the website and check that out. So as I mentioned, this is a luxury. It's a choice. You have to overcome the obstacles in your way. There's going to be obstacles, I promise. Okay? There's going to be problems as you're going through this. What days you're going to get excited? Okay? Days you're going to get depressed. Days you're going to feel like, why did you start this whole process? Days you're going to be like, should I quit? So there is some struggle with it. Okay? Some examples of struggles from a knowledge point of view. That's why there's courses. Okay, we usually have that covered. We tell our students when they come, don't worry, we'll do the knowledge for you. Okay, you just have to study them. Okay, sometimes it's money, especially when you're coming from another country where the exchange rate, makes your finances like difficult, right? So you have to manage that. You have to figure that out. Okay. There are ways to get loans for international trained dentists. There's a organization called Windmill. If you guys look it up, we could also send you a link to them through email. They give foreign trained professionals, not only dentists, any professional comes from that is trying to go through this process or any process that to do equivalency. They give them a $15,000 loan. So that's ideal if you're starting your AFK ACJ time, right? So for your AFK ACJ, excuse me, you could go to Windmill, get that loan, and get that done. Then I know that CIBC, a bank in Canada, also gives loans for foreign trained dentists up to $100,000. So you could do that when you get to your ACS or clinical exams, like the NDECC, where I said it'll cost more. So there is financial help, right? For example, at Scholars, we have convenient payment plans, up to 5 months payment plans. Like you could pay split it into 5 payments. And we don't charge extra for that. So just giving you kind of examples that there is help, but you have to also manage your financial situation. You have to be ready. Some people have to work, right? Some people have to work while they're here in Canada to support themselves. And again, from our point of view, we make the courses flexible so that you could, do that. So time. You have to figure out your time. How much time do you really have to give this process? You need time. If you feel like, and this is where I kind of classify students to type 1 and type 2, right? And we could talk about this later as well. But basically, there's a difference between a student that, you just graduated, you have no responsibilities, you don't have any family, kids, you don't have to work, you have all the time to give to studying. That's like a type 1 student that's fortunate enough to be able to put everything into the process. A type 2 student, you have responsibilities, you have kids, you have family, you have to work to support. You graduated 20 years ago. It's going to be a little. You can't put those two in the same, expectations. So I work with everybody realistically. When people book consults with me, I talk to you realistically and say, okay, well, this is your situation. How are we going to manage it so that you do as good as this person? You're going to take longer time. It's going to take you more than 6 months maybe to practice for a certain exam, right? So that's something where we're here to guide you, okay? And we want you to feel comfortable, book the consult. It's free, and at least you'll get some clarity, okay? And it's a one-on-one consult. So figure out how much time you have waiting for approval. Consider taking sometimes you could consider taking a course twice if you feel like you can't study as good as others, or you don't have enough time to study. So let's say if you need to work full time, do you need to work part time? Do you have family responsibilities? Do you need flexibility because you're working? So again, we got that on our courses where there's flexibility for everybody. People that take our courses, they're all over the world. They're working, and they have that flexibility because we have an online system. Distance wise, of course, that's why the online courses, I find them better in class because they save you commute time. Plus, as long as the online course could be effective and actually deliver the content better than in class, and we have it that way. And you have to start figuring out your way to Canada, your immigration process. Are you coming on a visitor's visa? And if you need help with that, you could consult our immigration expert that we have on the website. So if you go to our website, under the About section, you'll see immigration. You could consult you could contact that person. Jawad, and he'll help you guys out, and you can call him and get a consult. Okay, so these are some obstacles. Again, if you need your own personal, like, how do I do it? What's for my situation? You could book a free consultation with me and we could discuss it. Okay. All right. So again, review, knowledge, money, time, distance. These things have to be figured out, part of your plan. We will all have obstacles. Everyone will certainly have obstacles. I promise you. It's not going to be easy. In order to pass, this is part of the process. You must put the effort to overcome these obstacles. You must overcome them, and it won't be easy, but this is part of it. Whoever overcomes all these problems and figures it out, these are the people that will, make it at the end. Okay, so to summarize, there's 2 paths. They both start with applying to the NDEB and taking the AFK, applying to the NDEB and taking the AFK. If you go through the university pathway, okay, you apply to universities. You might have to do a bunch of interviews, clinical exams to get in the university. Some universities have clinical exams. And I have videos about UFT and Western. I'm planning to make more videos about each university. And then you finish the university, you go to your written and OSCE. If you're going through the direct pathway, you apply to the NDEB, do the AFK exam, do your ACJ exam, do your NDECC exam, and then go to the written and OSCE, and then that's it. You get your NDEB certificate. So the end and the beginning are the same. Apply to the NDEB. You have to do that. Start that ASAP. It's actually better to do it when you're in your country. Okay? AFK exam. And then here, as adjacent stuff, you could consider the ADAT exam. And if you have, if you're considering the US as an option, then you could do the IMBD exam. Okay? And then the ending is the same. Written and OSCE. Now remember, don't forget the immigration part, right? Yeah, of course. Like, that's plan how you're going to come to the Canada. Plan how you're going to take these exams. Okay? Because sometimes the AFK and ACJ exams, they're offered in other countries. If you're like, they're offered in sometimes in UK or in Paris or in Hong Kong before. So you might be able to get to maybe countries that are closer to you before coming to Canada. I don't know. That's something I have to look into. I'm not an immigration expert myself. So you have to consult someone if you want to come to Canada. There's ways I heard from people that I do consults with. They come on a student visa. So they kind of register for a college program. They come here, they study in that college program for 2 years, but now they're here, right? Figure out where you're going when you come to Canada. Which province are you going to be in? Now, I'm going to give you a little tip here. The ACS, the new ACS exam, the clinical exam that the NDEB does, okay? Sorry, the video for the Zoom is going to shut off now, but it's okay. So the clinical exam for the ACS is in Ottawa now. If you're updated with this information, you would know this. The NDEB, it used to do its ACS exams. This is the clinical exam. You're going to do actual clinical work. It used to do it in universities around Canada. But now they built a facility in Ottawa, and that's where we're going to do the exams. So maybe it's helpful to be in Ontario, right? Because you have to eventually do the exam in Ottawa. Okay? So take that into consideration. Again, it's not a big deal because you could always travel for the exam if you need to. But just, if you can make it easier and it works for you, why not? And just know that most NDECC or ACS centers, like courses, are in the GTA. So if you go to Alberta or to Vancouver or then you're kind of away from all of that. The community that's doing this stuff, right? The majority. So you'll find a lot of ACS training in the GTA. Okay? So just keep these things in mind when you're planning where you're going. Okay, so again, consult our immigration expert if you need help with that specific issue. Or you might have someone already, doesn't matter. I just want to make sure you're on it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the direct pathway. The NDEB process, the direct pathway specifically. We talked about how here we're saying, both options. Now let's look at the direct pathway. First of all, you have the application. Okay. You have to do your application to the NDEB and get approved. Once you're approved, and I saw some of you are approved, right? you have to now plan for your AFK exam and prepare for your AFK exam. Then you're going to do your ACJ exam, then your ACS exam or NDECC, and then you could do your board exam. So this is an order. You have to do them in this order. Okay? It used to be that you could do ACJ and ACS whenever, like you could do the ACS before the ACJ, but now it's not like that. You have to do them in this order that I have it here. So let me give you a regular timeline since we have some room here as well. Okay. And is everything okay so far? Everybody's hearing me fine? I see a lot of questions. I'm really happy to answer them. I will, I promise. Okay. That's the last question I see is AFK and ACJ can be done in Paris. I'm not saying now they can, but they used to be sometimes the AFK would open. Like, so the locations on the NDEB website, they change. Sometimes they open them in other areas in the world. Okay. Okay. So the eligibility for AFK, you just have to be approved. Once you're approved for the NDEB, you can take your AFK exam. Okay. And once you score like someone is asking how many years are the AFK and ACJ scores valid for? They're valid for, like for what? For universities, it depends on the university. But for the actual process, they're always valid. After you complete ACJ, here, let's talk about this here because it is important. From where do I prepare for AFK? We will prepare you for AFK. Okay. I'm going to do an AFK orientation. If you do not want to get help for AFK through a course, you could look into the dental decks. Okay. And the release questions. I have an orientation for AFK, guys. But let me go through the timeline here to give you an idea. Okay. So let's go through this timeline. Okay. We'll do it here. Okay. So let's just take an example of an AFK exam date. Okay. So let's say you're planning for the AFK that is in August of 2022. When does the opening date for that exam happen? It's March 16. That's what we know now. Our course starts in March, and actually we might start a week earlier of 2022. So that's when the course starts. However, now this March 16, there is a closing date. I actually forgot what the closing date is. It might be like in June or something, right? However, you want to be able to register for the exam on March 16. Why? Because seats get fully booked. Okay? That is the problem we've been seeing in the recent years. It might not be something in the future. We don't know yet. But for now, seats are getting booked fast. Okay? So, and then there is always hope that they're opening up more seats. Okay, as time goes there. So, for example, my students on when they're registering for the FEB exam that's coming up, they not all of them were able to get in on the registration date, and then they open more seats later on. Okay, and then now all of them are able to get in. Okay, all right. So for you to be able to register for the August exam, which opens on March 16th, so count how many months that is: March, April, May, June, July, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 months before you want to have the approval. Now, how long does it take to get approved? The NDEB, right? Fortunately, right? Thank God that actually gave a maximum number now for approval. Before, there wasn't a maximum number. I would hear stories that, some people applied and they're under review and it's been a year. Okay? But now the NDEB has given a maximum number of 22 weeks, and that equals to 5 to 6 months. Now, could it be shorter? Yes, I've had a consult with someone that said they got it done in 2 months. But you have to take you have to assume the worst case, right? So that means you have to have sent the documents 5 to 6 months before March 16, right? So work backwards. Feb, Jan, December, November, October. So maybe somewhere at least in the beginning of October or September. Does that make sense? So if you do that, then you could almost guarantee that you're going to be approved before that. If you do it later than October, then you don't know yet, right? Now, a lot of people here go, well, what do I do? How do I plan this? Again, you should be working on your NDEB application, and it's wise to work on the AFK at the same time. So, for example, let's say you sent your documents in November. You don't know if you're going to get into the August exam, but you can still start your AFK preparation here. And, and then that way, if you do get in, you're ready. Remember what we said in the beginning? You want to be ready. You have to do what you can to be ready. You don't want to enter the exam not being ready. A lot of people think this way. Like, you know what? I'm not going to prepare. If I do get into the exam, I'll start thinking about the preparation. That's wrong. Most failures come if you study less than 6 months. I have a survey of this, okay? The best time to study is 6 to 12 months. You don't want to think that way, because what's the point of you if you save these a few months here and some money? Okay, but you failed. Now you wasted another 6 months. Does that make, why would you do that? It's not the wise way to go. Invest in yourself, prepare. Start preparing, even if you're not sure you're going to get into the exam. If you do, you're ready. If you don't, even better, you prepare more for the Feb exam. That's in 2023, right? You have a higher chance of passing. No one said you're going to pass on your first attempt. Anyway, we don't know. You don't know that, right? So now if you take so that's how the timeline looks for NDEB AFK, okay? Now the ACJ comes in usually somewhere in November. That's November 2022, let's say. Again, this is like a timeline for one example, and then you have one in May. And these could change, but this is what it is now. And sometimes as someone if you're taking, let's say, the August exam, let me change my color here. Okay, if you're taking the August exam, you might not be, because you're waiting for your results, you might not be able to take the November exam, right? Because you might miss it. People may book it. Maybe you will get into it. You don't know. That's why we tell our students, start preparing here, take the course, and if you don't get in, we'll give you the next one anyway for free. So no problem. So we have ways to make it easier for, like, everybody that comes to the consult sees that we thought of everything for you, okay? But anyway, let's say you couldn't take this one. You might need to take this exam. And then you might need 6 months for the ACS, right? So let's say May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Let's say you do your ACS exam in December, right? Let me put it here, actually, December. That's ACS, or what is called now NDECC, right? And then if you do that and you do pass it, your board exams will be, let's say, early 2024. Okay. And then your license could be maybe late 2024. That's your license. Now, any delay, let's say you delayed, you took a risk, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to prepare until I'm 100% sure I'm in the exam. Okay, use that strategy and let's find out how it works, right? But if you do that and you're late to preparing and you're behind everybody, and you go to your August exam, you fail it, now everything's pushed 6 months because your next exam is in Feb, right? And maybe you weren't ready to pass on your first attempt. Maybe you needed a year to study. Who knows? We have to analyze your situation, right? But you don't know that, right? Maybe you let's say you failed each exam once. Then that's 6 months here, 6 months there. Maybe for the ACS, it's a few months, not 6. But that's delaying you, right? Now, let's assume you passed them all on your first attempt the way I stated right here. So you started, let's say, in September 2021 with your application, right? And you finished somewhere in 2025. So you could think like, okay, from the start of your application to getting your actual license could be 3 to 4 years, right? That's what I'm saying. If you count it from AFK, then you could say 3 years, right? If you count it from when you're done AFK, then, you could say 2.5 to 3, right? The university will always be longer. Just know that. The university pathway will always give you a year more, unless you fail a lot in the direct pathway. So it's hard to predict exactly how long it's going to be for you. But what I'm saying here is if it works out this way, that's how long it'll be. So I gave you a general timeline for one, cycle. Then I want you to take that into consideration when you're applying. So you should plan from now. Okay, I'm planning for the AFK in August. Well, okay, are you actually realistically planning? Some people come to me in the consult and they say, I want to take the August exam. Okay, did you open NDEB account? No. You didn't open NDEB account? What do you do? So you're not going to get the August exam. You're late. Okay, you can't. We're going to plan you for Feb. But you can still prepare now. And then we have if you repeat the course, we have 40% discount. We have a 3-week free review for people that need to come back for their exam. So we have a lot of options to support students. But at the end, I'm just saying, this is why I'm doing this orientation, so that if you're taking a certain exam, you really have to plan when you're sending your documents, when they're received, when the NDEB gets them, and how long it's going to take for approval. Is that clear, everybody, so far? So I did jump ahead. I was going to do this later. So let's go back to the slides so that we finish those. Okay. All right. So again, what did we say? Apply to the NDEB and plan your immigration at the same time. And if you could then include an AFK preparation while you're doing that, you save more time. So this is the direct pathway: ACJ exam, NDECC exam, written board, and OSCE exam. So the NDEB application, usually I get to this part a little bit faster. Do this ASAP. Start it. Always good to get it done early. There's no expiry date. Okay? People that ask, what if I do the application and I get approved? Does that expire? No, just do it. Open an account. Have a profile. Okay? Yes, it'll cost you $800. I said there's going to be some things on the way that you are not free. Fine. Open the account. You have to do it anyway. If this is something you're going to do it sooner or later, right? So do it earlier so that you're ready. It's easier actually to do this step before you come to Canada. People think I'm going to go then do it. No, it's easier because you have to get documents from university. It's easier if you're there. Okay, guys? So do it sooner. It'll be easier for you. So how does the NDEB application work? That's what I want to talk about here. You're going to make an account. There's a fee for making the account. I think it's $800 or $900. Put your info. They're going to want a notarized copy or photo ID eventually. This is the documents they usually ask for, or what they're asking for. Dental degree, the one you hang on the wall. That's what they tell you. The one you hang on the wall. So if you don't have your dental degree yet, you can't apply. They want the original. This started a few years back. It was really weird, but wow, it's scary, right? Sending your original degree to the NDEB, and then they're going to check it and then send it back. Okay? So they want the original. And a translation if it's not in English already. Okay? They want mark transcripts. So that means your scores for all the subjects over the years. And they want that to be translated if it's not in English already. Now, the tricky parts, if you're not in your country, they want mark transcripts that are sent directly from your university, sealed in an envelope, so no one opened it and messed around with it or faked it. They want it sent directly from the university. It cannot be sent from the university to you, then to them. No, directly from the university. There's something called a confirmation degree that you download from the NDEB, and also has to be sent from the university. We'll show you how that works. Some countries, like the NDEB asks some graduates from certain countries for more documents, like if you've done an internship or something like that. So let's just go through that one more time. A notarized copy, so the original degree, okay? You don't need the notarized copy of that anymore. You have to send the original. Now, what's a translation document? I just want to make sure. So if your degree is in English, your country that you are graduated from, the official language is English, so you might not need this, right? Everything's in English. But if it's not in English, the translation actually includes a copy of the degree. So just to make sure that's clear for everybody, right? So you're going to take a copy of the dental degree. like a notarized copy, a good copy that's, notarized. And that is going to be translated. Then these two pieces, the translation and the copy, are stapled together. This entire document is referred to as the translation. Okay? Some people think that, okay, I'm going to send this document and that counts as a degree and its translation. No, they don't look at it that way. They look at it as this is the translation. All of it. They still want an additional degree. Now, the additional degree, in this case, that's easy because they just want the actual original degree, okay? So you don't have to think about like making a copy of it or anything, okay? Only except for the translation. So this is what you have to send. So you're going to make the account. We said 900, notarized copy and translation. Okay. Now, what's this confirmation degree thing? So we'll take an example of this, plus how it's sent from the university. That applies, to transcripts. So the confirmation degree, this is one of the parts where people really mess up, but you have to trial and error and figure it out. It's a document that you download from your NDEB account when you open with them. It has two halves, the upper and then the lower half. The upper half is filled by you. Okay? You fill this up. My name, when did I graduate, all this stuff. You send this to your university. Cool? Now, your university is supposed to fill in the bottom half. And of course, they have to match. So if you say you graduated on a certain date and then they say a different date, you might get rejected. And the issue with that is sometimes you have different dates, like a date when you get your degree, a date when the dean, said you graduated, a date when you actually graduated. So you have to figure out which one that your university is going to put. Then after your university fills in the bottom half, they have to put it in a sealed envelope. That is the university seal with a stamp, plus the transcripts. So you could do that. So if you go back here, there's a transcript that has to be also sealed from the university. So you could do that all in one step, right? So you put the transcripts in there as well from the university, if they're friendly enough to work with you, like this. Then that has to be sent from the university to the NDEB, and then that's it. Okay? All right, so that's how you get through the confirmation degree. Now, once you sent all your documents, you wait for your approval. You cannot apply to the exams without the approval. The NDEB says 22 weeks or 5 to 6 months maximum. Okay? So to understand what that means, it's 5 to 6 months from the time they received your documents. Okay? So dental degree. So in your NDEB account, if you haven't done this yet, you're going to have your documents in a column, and each document is going to have a status. So you will all start with not received. When you send them, they're going to become received. Right? Then when the NDEB starts reviewing them, it's going to say under review. Okay? And then eventually, hopefully, all of you will get approved each document. Okay? Or rejected, and then you have to fix that. So once everything is received, that's when the NDE starts saying the 5 to 6 months thing starts. Okay? So the NDEB said 22 weeks from the time the documents are received. And they won't start reviewing until all documents are received. So don't think that if you send one and then after a month you send the other like you're doing something. No, you have to get them all done. Okay? Once they're approved, all right, that's a good step. That's an exam in itself. I look at the NDEB approval as an exam step. Okay? Now you could apply and study for AFK. But wait. Maybe you should have been already studying for AFK to save some time, right? Instead of waiting. So if you are someone that feels like, hey, we got to get things, like I want things to move faster, that's how you do it efficiently. Okay? So you want to try to, again, I could help you with that if you book a consult where we plan, okay, this is where you'll be studying for AFK plus the NDEB process so that you land on the right exam. Okay. For the NDEB, there is alternative applications. You have to do an affidavit for some things. You know, call the NDEB if you need help. Okay, guys? Now, the exams, just a little overview. I'm not going to go into an orientation of each exam, but I'm just going to give you an overview. AFK exam, we have an orientation coming up. I'll send you guys the link at the end. It's 200 questions now, MCQ, multiple choice questions. The ACJ exam is a clinical case exam. So half of it is x-rays, and you have to diagnose. The other half is cases. You get like 15 options. More than one could be correct. You might have 3 correct options, 4. So there's a different strategy for it. The NDECC or ACS, now you have around 8 clinical projects. You have to prepare on plastic teeth or Kilgore teeth, like on mannequins, not real patients. Plus you have around some questions in situational judgment, which give you scenarios to see how professional you are. The written board is similar to AFK. That's why when you get to here, it's easy. If you pass AFK, you'll pass the written board. The OSCE is similar to ACJ, but there's a few extra topics. So you do still need to prepare. You need a course for that to get through it as well. But the passing rates here are high for the NDEB. And, you know, you go to the NDEB website to see how people are passing. Okay. So timeline, important dates. Know when the documents were received so that you plan, okay, when you could expect your approval. Figure out what exam date is best for you. Keep, you know, note of the exam registration opening date, because you want to be there on that day so that you get the seats before they're all booked. And then also keep note of the exam registration closing date, because what if they open more seats? Okay, guys? Now, where to start after all of this, right? Where to start? If you haven't done anything, open an NDEB account. Get approved. Plan your immigration. Prepare for the AFK that you think you will be taking. Could be a prediction. That's fine. But an AFK preparation is not wasteful. You could use that for ADAT, IMBD, and AFK. Okay? So if you're doing all of this, you're being efficient. If you have time, why not open an account for the ADAT and the IMBD? Check out the ADA and try to open an account to get to those exams. We have a video about the ADAT exam as well. And book your free consultation, guys. If you want me to one-on-one, again, like, there's not a lot of time before the AFK course, so there's maybe a month and a half. We do ship the books to everybody, so you have to take into consideration how far you are. So it might take 2 to 3 weeks if you're, you know, abroad to get the books to you. So, but again, we're taking consults, free consults if you need, a one-time free consult, and you could book that if you want me to plan with you. Okay, thank you everybody for attending. This is the NDEB orientation, and now I'll answer all your questions. I'll spend time here, and I'll give you guys the links. Everybody here is eligible or should take the AFK orientation, right? We just split it to make it less, you know, less in one day for you. Okay, so you don't have to sit here and listen. We find people with their attention span could be, you know, like, oh, I'm done with this guy, right? But that's it.